I swam to the edge of a pool and fell off the face of the earth. I should have never tried swimming in the same pool where Michael, one of my classmates, drowned. Well, to be fair, so did many others in our school. But I was stupid enough to do it after class as it ended. I hid in the abandoned storage room Sarah had told me about. And once it seemed like everyone, teachers, students, the janitor had left, I slipped through the doors into the large room where the pool sat, waiting. It glistened with the sun's rays, and it looked so refreshing and cool. A mild anxiety built inside me as I lingered at the concrete edge. The water appeared turbulent, and it lapped, almost hungrily, at my feet. "Michael?" I asked. "That you?" The anxiety creeped into dread territory, and I pulled back a few inches. Just staring at the translucent water, I let my hands instinctively clench into fists, thinking to myself I couldn't back out now. I promised Sarah I'd do this, and to be honest, I had a bit of a crush on her. "It's just water," I told myself. "There is nothing to be worried about." The smell of chlorine intensified. I hesitated for a few minutes, ignoring the cramping feeling of nervousness and fear building in my stomach. Then I jumped in. I relished the cool sensation of the water, the momentary bubbles caused by my last-minute cannonball. After a few minutes, the fear I had seemed to be washed away. I lingered in the center of the pool, scanning my surroundings, making sure Michael didn't appear, eyes floating to the water surface like an alligator's. There was a stunning silence in the room, aside from the paddling of my limbs to keep me afloat. I loosened up even more and decided to swim a few laps while I was there. I had the courage to jump in. I might as well enjoy it. So I swam to the other side. And right before I could grab the lip, I'm not sure how to describe it. Falling off the edge of the earth seems appropriate, but I don't think that's what happened. It just felt that way. I glimpsed falling off the thick surge of water, then rapidly descended into darkness. I saw Michael during the descent. "This is what it's like to drown, Derek," Michael said. "At least in this pool. Swimming here after everyone is gone. A dare that never ends. Passed on from one teenager to the next. Are you gonna die here with me? I could use a friend." Michael reached for me, and I could feel something tugging at my wrist. Then I fell from the darkness to the bright blue waters. Sarah was holding on to me, pulling frantically, but someone else was pulling on me, and I looked back to see Michael's corpse doing its best to drag me underwater. I kicked, and between that and Sarah's pulling, I made it over the edge, panting desperately for air. When I looked back, Michael had gone. The waters were eerily still as I gasped for oxygen, lungs burning. Once I finally caught my breath, Sarah and I decided not to linger near the pool despite there not being any sign of Michael. We slipped through the window in the biology lab and practically ran to my house. We talked for a long time. Sarah let me express how frightened I was. Then it was her turn. She'd seen the same thing as me, a horrifying dead person. She'd come back because she felt guilty daring me to swim after hours. In fact, Sarah had been the one to give me the janitor's key, which unlocked the door to the pool area. I told her not to blame herself. I accepted the dare. And besides, neither one of us could predict the hair-raising scenario of Michael coming back to life. That night, I couldn't stop thinking of the place I'd gone to for several minutes. I'd seen a horrifying corpse of a former classmate, but the infinite darkness around it made me think I'd gone to a different dimension. How was that even possible? And somehow, Sarah was able to grab onto my wrist at the same time. Did that mean I died? And my soul temporarily traveled somewhere else? I fell asleep at some point, trying to read a history book for class the next day. Horror built in me as I realized I was in the abyss of darkness again. And Michael's corpse just sat there, dripping wet. He smiled, the skeletal contours of his face emphasized. I woke up with a scream, and I was so traumatized by this nightmare that I checked the room for him. It wasn't until I opened the closet door that I saw him again, wearing the same drenched clothes and smelling like chlorine. I slammed the door shut, took several deep breaths, then opened it again, preparing to let out another scream. But there was nothing there. Yet I knew I'd seen something. I was so rattled that I called Sarah. She sounded groggy, but after hearing how scared I sounded, she woke up fairly quickly. What's wrong?" she asked. I saw Michael again. Something's wrong. After several moments of silence, she confessed to me that Michael had come to her in a nightmare. He wanted her to dare me, so I'd use the pool. That way, he could follow my soul back to the land of the living. I asked her how I could get rid of him, if she knew a way. "There's only one way, and it's dangerous," she said. "Anything," I replied. She said I could go to the pool again, that I should shake off his ghost in the other dimension if I was able to be pulled out before I drowned completely, like last time. But honestly, I wasn't sure I was going to take that chance. Just thinking of the clear blue water and Michael's hand on my ankle as he tried pulling me down to where he died, I knew I couldn't go back. Dread grew inside as I conjured the image. Then something else occurred to me. Even if I found the courage to plunge into that pool again, if Sarah didn't pull me out in time, I'd suffer a fate worse than death. I'd be stuck in the other dimension with Michael, waiting for someone else to drown, so I could ride on the back of a soul to the land of the living. Ever play Nicky Nicky Nine Doors as a kid? Yeah, I was a jerk too. The game was simple fun, which was perfect for smooth-brained oafs like me. You'd knock on the door, then run and hide before somebody opened it up. Lately, I've been the victim of something similar. Oddly enough, the knock always happens at the same time of night, a minute and a half past 4 a.m. Bizarre, right? Who has that kind of discipline? After the third night in a row, I decided I'd had enough, and I was going to catch the idiot and give him a piece of my mind. I set up shop beside my front door and waited for the clock to tick over to 4:01. Soon after, the knock sounded. Like a bat out of hell, I swung the door open and shouted into the dead of the night, "Do it again, and I swear I'll kill you." Nobody was there. Or, if somebody was there, they'd done a good job at slinking away. It was odd, though. How had they escaped so fast? I spent some time looking for them, but I came up empty-handed. I couldn't see so much as tracks in the snow. The knocking kept up. Every night. Over and over. I couldn't catch them, no matter how hard I tried. Once, I even waited outside my front door, and when the clock struck a minute and a half past 4, I heard the knock plain as day, despite nobody being there to make it. What? Soon, the knocking was followed by unintelligible whispers, and the whispers were followed by small gifts. Wood carvings ended up on my doorstep. They resembled tiny people. And upon closer inspection, people that I knew. The latest was a rendition of my mother and father, an artful piece with their heads twisted backward and a rune carved into their chests. It unnerved me, terrified me really. The thing that frightened me the most, though, was that I had no idea who could be doing this. You see, I haven't had any neighbors for the past 2 years. I live alone in the mountains, 3 hours from the nearest town. And the last time I saw somebody out here, I was burying their corpse.